So is college useful? Kind of. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Bye bye. But more seriously, I just finished college and during the last few years I learned a lot of things. I developed skills like sales, marketing, writing, design, video editing, web development, and I've already made money from most of these skills, so I'm at least decent at all of these. But there's a problem. I didn't learn any of these things in college. I studied international business as well as general business stuff, but after school I used online courses and books if I wanted to learn something. And I had part-time jobs on the side to pay for school, books and courses, and this extremely dope setup. I feel like the online courses I followed taught me more applicable things than college, and I ended up using skills that I got online for my job and personal projects. So it leads us to the question, is college useful? Initially, I thought that going to college would be enough to build skills that have value and make money. But I quickly found out that the problem with traditional education is that it rarely prepares you for doing work in modern industries or work that is cutting edge. To work in these kind of industries, you need specific knowledge, which Naval Ravikant defines as being on the bleeding edge of technology, art, and communication. He says that it is taught on the job, through apprenticeships, or is self-taught. This explains why this kind of job pays you $80,000 to $120,000 plus some equity in the company. You cannot learn how to do this in a classroom. But in a way, the job post makes sense. Creating viral shitposts gets you way more engagement than writing empty platitudes on social media. You don't learn innovative or cutting-edge things in college, but this also makes sense. Cutting-edge things are often risky, and learning new and risky things that may not be the norm in the future could not be the best thing to teach to most people. And it's why you won't learn how to shitpost in college. Sorry. And then there are the arguments that we usually hear against traditional education. It doesn't prepare you for real life because it's not practical, or it's too expensive, and it only teaches outdated knowledge. There's some nuance, of course. Everything is not bad. There are great career paths that require more traditional education like medicine or law. But even when it comes to this kind of career, being self-taught to some extent can help and give you an edge. Josiah Zayner is a guy who studied biophysics in college, and he was invited to a private island with very rich guys like Peter Thiel, who's the co-founder of PayPal. But he wasn't invited there because of his college degree. It was because he was doing something called biohacking, which some scientists find dumb, but is for sure cutting edge and innovative. But that's not all. One of the biggest problems in the education space is that great teachers are not always well paid. Even if the price of college and tuition has tripled in the last 20 years in the US, the salary of teachers hasn't. And if teaching is one of the most important professions in the world, it probably should be rewarded accordingly. But some teachers have already found a solution, and there are now thousands of teacher millionaires, and it's thanks to online education. I think that online courses solve most of the problems I talked about earlier. They're cheaper than the cost of college for students, they're quicker to set up than a college class, so people who work in cutting-edge domains can share knowledge way faster and at scale, and teachers can make more profit, which is more interesting than with a traditional teaching job. This makes online education pretty interesting. On the teacher side, people who have real experience as teachers and who are willing to put in the marketing effort can create amazing resources like Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain, and make a lot of profit from them. And even some people without formal teaching experience can create very useful courses like Not Licensed DeFi Orientation, which teaches you how to get into decentralized finance and the crypto economy in general. Also, what's great is that anyone can teach. You might think that this can lead to idiots teaching stupid things on the internet, and it's true to some extent. But I recently saw this. It's a TikTok from an Indonesian kid teaching other people how to display Hello World by using code. It has 1.5 million views and probably inspired more young people to start coding than most computer science teachers. Actually, this kid has an advantage over experts in the same field because he's not victim of the curse of knowledge, which is a psychological concept in which the intervention of expert is counterproductive for people learning new skills because they cannot empathize enough with the beginners. Both experts and beginners can teach very valuable information because of their different points of view. And on the student side, they have access to many resources that can create opportunities. When Julius Yego was a young javelin thrower in Kenya, he had a hard time finding a coach because it wasn't a very popular sport in his country, but he still was very determined to succeed. So he watched YouTube videos of the former Olympic javelin thrower Andreas Thord Kilson, and he took notes and imitated the movements of the best people he could find online. Julius ended up winning gold in the 2015 World Championships in Beijing, silver in the 2016 Rio Olympics in Brazil, and holds the third longest javelin throw in history. His story is impressive, but it also makes sense. It's better to learn from the best people in the world by studying how they perform. Julius still ended up getting a coach, but it was over a decade after he started practicing, so anyone can safely become good at most things by being self-taught. So now we start to clearly see the advantages of online education, especially for students who do not have the same opportunities as everyone else. Hopefully one day it will be the case for everyone and we'll all have access to the internet. But there's one thing that most online courses don't help with, and it's the social aspect. When you sit down to follow an online course, you're alone. You have no one to give you direct feedback, and you don't have the healthy social pressure that you get from having peers around you. But all of this is changing. The education industry is evolving quickly, and new ways of teaching online like cohort-based courses are getting traction because they take the best of both worlds. They blend high-quality pre-recorded content with group calls and better support from teachers and coaches. And the tools are evolving within this market as well. Podia recently launched a community feature, Maven focuses on cohort-based courses, and Schoolmaker allows you to have both while focusing on teaching through action instead of just theory and videos. And within these new kind of courses, or online in general, I think that you can meet very cool people. I got to meet some by reaching out or creating content, and I probably couldn't have met such cool people from all around the world if I limited myself to college. So yeah, college is useful, but it's often too expensive and it's not enough anymore to become very successful. I still think that education is super important, of course, and we're lucky to live in a time in which knowledge is accessible everywhere online. I'm very curious to see how it evolves in the future. What was your experience with college or learning stuff by yourself? Tell me in the comments. And in my next videos, I'll put to the test what I've learned during the last few years. So I'm switching my content from random videos about Dutch typing or learning how to code to something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm going to build a few startups or business projects and grow them from zero, and I'll document the whole process on this channel, so subscribe if you want to follow my journey. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next one.